Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nancy and this is Nancy's Corner, and where we do whatever, whenever, however. Today I wanted to talk about just my parenting style, certain things that I do and that I don't do with my babies. It is going to be mostly focused on Avery because she is my toddler that I think I have to educate more than Luca. Luca is 3 months. He doesn't really need much other than sleep. So it's going to be focused mainly on what I've learned with Avery and what I'm choosing to do with Avery. The reason why I wanted to do this video was because it has helped me tremendously to hear other people talk about what they do in certain situations. It helps me kind of just think about different ways that I can handle a situation with Avery. And sometimes it also helps me decide what not to do. I am not an expert. I am simply sharing what I choose to do with my babies. The rest is up to you. So something that I don't do is I don't force her to do anything. I don't force her to eat. I don't force her to hug someone that she may not want to. I don't force her to share her toys. I don't force her at all. What I do instead is that I would talk to her in certain situations. For example, when it comes to lending a toy, I will speak to her and tell her, hey, how about we take some turns? You take this toy, whatever she's playing with, and that other kid, whoever she's playing with, will take this other toy, and then we're going to take turns. And so maybe I can set up a timer, let the timer go off, and then explain to her when the timer goes off, let's take a turn and just give this toy to that kid, and then that kid will give you that toy. And that's obviously something that has to come with consent as well from both parties. So if the other kid doesn't want to lend the toy, and so then Avery doesn't have to lend her toy neither. But if she is playing with them and the point is to kind of teach them to share, I kind of put it in different words, and instead of sharing, I say let's just take turns. When it comes to eating, like I said, I don't force her to eat. What I do instead is that I will present her plate with everything that the whole family is eating. So if we're eating rice with egg, hypothetically, I will put some rice, I would put some egg, and then if she's not familiar to neither one of those two, I would include something else in there that she is familiar with, such as a fruit. So if she's like, if I know she's going to be eating strawberries, I'll put some strawberries there. That way, if she chooses to not eat the rice and the eggs, I know that she's still eating something because she's eating the strawberries. The remaining fruit, I'll typically just cover it and save it for later. And then whenever she asks me for food again, I'll present the same food to her so she can look at it one more time. And again, I would also include another thing that she is comfortable with. But the point for food is just to kind of keep introducing the same thing, so she can get used to it. And potentially what I want to do with that is that I just want her to try it. So if she doesn't eat it, it's okay. If she doesn't like it, it's okay. I want her to try it. That's all. However, I don't want to force her, so I just present it to her multiple times so she can get exposure to it. Another thing that helps with that is just cooking with her, because sometimes while I'm cooking with her, she'll just immediately put something in her mouth. Because I didn't instruct her to eat it, she's more likely to eat it while she's prepping with me. So I try to involve her in that situation as well. I know coming from a Hispanic household, I was always forced to eat. So when I was young, I would eat everything. I was always known to be the kid that ate everything, was not picky at all. But honestly, the reason why I ate was because I was fearful, because I would always get hit if I didn't eat. I believe that I developed a really bad relationship with food because of that. And now that I am an adult, I am very picky. I'm very, very picky with all my meals, especially with soups. I don't like any soup. And that's because soups were the thing that I was traumatized the most when I was young. So it's something I don't want to do with Avery. When it comes to kissing and hugging family members, like I said, I don't force her to do that either. Instead, what I do is that I would typically just put her in situations in where she just has to wave. I try my best to get away from any type of situation that would involve her feeling forced to hug or kiss anybody. Again, coming from a Hispanic family, they do expect you to kiss and hug, and so sometimes they kind of force themselves upon the child. And when that happens, I would just tell what I will pick up on the clues that Avery's giving me. If she feels comfortable with that hug, I'll just let her have it. But if she doesn't feel comfortable, I'll just tell the adult, like, oh, you know what, I don't think she wants that. And they typically do understand. So that's how I would handle that. And the other thing I don't do is that I don't hit. I try my best to stay away from any type of hitting, although sometimes, I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes when she does something repeatedly and it gets to the point where I can't handle it, I have hit her hand before. And it's crazy because she'll laugh and I end up feeling bad for doing it anyway because I didn't want to hit her. I just allowed my frustration to kind of get the best of me, and so I ended up hitting her hand. I believe that there is always something you can do to just teach them. For example, Avery has a habit of playing with these little toys here. Sometimes she does it for attention because she knows that they don't typically get touched, but sometimes she will go to the tree and start playing with them. She may want attention, or she may actually want to get one of the little ornaments. Sometimes when she gets it off, she actually comes to me and she tells me like, oh look, it fell off, and she just wants me to help her put it back on the tree because she knows that that's where they go. Sometimes if I'm seeing that she's doing that for attention, so she's trying to just get that negative attention, I kind of turn it around and I think about it, and I understand that if she wants attention from me by messing with the tree, she just wants to spend time with me. She's not doing it in a evil way. She just wants to spend time with me, and she's trying to tell me, hello, pay attention to me or I'm gonna mess this up. So when that happens, I would typically tell her to step away from the tree, and if she doesn't listen, I'll just tell her, do you need me to help you move from the tree? And I would just help her get away from that situation, and I will redirect her to do something else, such as reading a book with me. That way she gets to spend time with me, and no hitting was involved. Instead, what I did was that I just redirected and helped her get out of that situation that would get her otherwise in trouble. The other thing that I don't do is that I don't assume that she can't do it. I try my best to assume that she can do it even if she's little. Just have to figure out what adjustments have to be made in order for her to be able to do it. So for example, if you saw my last video, I showed you that Avery got to cut a pear last time. I'm not going to give her a knife that I'm typically using because if she messes up, she may actually cut herself. But because I can see that she may be capable of doing that, I decided to switch it for a butter knife. So it's something that instead of assuming no, she can't do it because she's going to cut herself, I adjusted so she can still try it in a less dangerous environment and she can conquer what she wanted to do. There's certain things, obviously, that she may not be able to, and it'll be up to your discretion to decide. But there's a lot of things that they can do. And by assuming that they can, that you just have to make adjustments, I feel like it puts you in a different mindset and where it makes you think further. And it allows your kiddos to go far and more beyond your thoughts. I'm still working on that one specifically. There's some times that I'm like, no, she can't do it. And then I catch myself and I'm like, well, maybe she could. Maybe if I find another scenario, she may be able to do that. So I always try my best to find those alternatives or those adjustments that I have to do so she can still do whatever she wanted to try or whatever I think she may be capable of. I honestly believe that thinking this way has helped Avery do a lot of things that a lot of other kids are not doing at her age yet, just because I allowed myself to think further and to help her go through those fearful moments that I'm fearful of, not her. So there was one thing, for example, that I was very scared and he was letting her go down the stairs. I'm very fearful of it. I still am. But instead of shutting it off and being like, no, you can't go downstairs, it's more like, let me teach you how to go downstairs properly so you don't fall. So I would teach her where she has to hold on to. I will teach her even by me doing it if I have to. But if I'm seeing that she's handling it well, I'll let her, and I'm just literally with her every step of the way. So I feel safe and she also gets to try that, and she gets to actually prove to me if she can do it or not. And most of the time, I kid you not, she proves me wrong, and she typically can always do those things that she wants to attempt. So that's just another thing. And just in general, when it comes to dealing with tantrums or anything that's just not fun to deal with, I think what helps the most for me is setting boundaries and making sure that whenever those boundaries are broken or whenever rules are broken, I have some type of consequence, and the consequence has to be a natural consequence. So for example, if I tell her not to play with a toy and she plays with that toy, I will simply take it away. And I'll explain to her, well, I'm going to take the toy away from you now because you didn't listen to mommy. And she's typically very understanding. She'll just give me the toy and go play with something else. Sometimes if she wants to try again, I will give her the toy and I'll tell her, I'm going to let you try one more time. And if you do it again, I will take it away. And she never does it again. She really understands that every single time something happens, there's a consequence. And that is only because I have been consistent with that ever since she started doing anything with walking. Ever since she started testing me. So it may not work the first few times, but if the consistency goes on, she typically understands everything, and she knows what would happen if she messes up. I actually have this box of kinetic sand, and every time she asks me to play with that, before I even open it, she points at the floor and she tells me, no, the floor, no. And that's because I tell her that if she ever drops purposely the kinetic sand on the floor, then we don't play with kinetic sand anymore. I have a rug here, and I don't like the kinetic sand getting on the rug. So I tell her the sand stays on this table, and if it goes out of the table purposely, we don't play with the kinetic sand for that day anymore. And she's really good. She's really good at following those instructions now because I have done it every single time when we play with kinetic sand. And lastly, I do speak to her as if she was my equal. So I treat her like I would treat anyone else. That's why all the other things kind of apply, because I wouldn't hit an adult, so I'm not gonna hit her. I wouldn't force an adult, so I'm not gonna force her. I respect everyone's boundaries, so I have to respect hers. And those are just a few things that I do and don't do with Avery. I wanted to share those with you because, like I said, it has helped me so much to just hear parenting styles from different parents. And this is all like on YouTube that I find these parents. I do a lot of my own research. I have a lot of pages that I follow. I'm that mom that's like in 1,000 groups and like 1,000 pages on Instagram. And like I follow different parents just to kind of get ideas. And so I'm really hopeful that this video gives you some type of ideas or gives you some encouragement if you are using some of the strategies, because I know sometimes it gets aggravating, it's difficult, it's hard to deal with a lot of feelings, and kids have a lot of feelings. And we need to be understanding of that and learn how to help them. So that is really what I aim to do with my little girl and my little boy. So that is all, you guys. So I hope you guys found it useful or at least interesting, or you got something out of it. Let me know if you want more videos like this with like specific problems that you've encountered and maybe how I would handle them in that situation. I'm still learning, but I have already learned so much from having my baby girl. And making this video, it's really just a nice conversation. I love these type of talks. I love everything mom. I love everything that has to deal with understanding them. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video with someone you think may need it, and I will see you next time. Bye!